I want to share with you a little treasure of a book that I found actually while I was up at Holy Cross Monastery up in upstate New York. And got a lot of some very interesting ideas from this writer named Simone Weil. I think that's how you pronounce it. The name of the book is Waiting for God. And what makes her very interesting as a mystic is that she comes from the Christian side of the house, but she was never a Christian. She was never a self-proclaimed Christian. She refused to be baptized because she always felt a kindred spirit with the everyman. She didn't want to step inside of a religion in order to touch God. It seemed somehow unnatural to her that she had to step into a definition in order to be in relationship with the beloved. And this attitude, she develops it and says some beautiful things in this book. One of the things that she talks about is this inward desire or inspiration or compulsion to know the truth, to experience being in its freest sense. She says, God rewards the soul that thinks of him with attention and love, and he rewards it by exercising a compulsion upon it strictly and mathematically proportionate to this attention and love. So she's saying that if you approach God with an attention and with a love, that he will reward you with a desire or a compulsion within, a motivation, an inspiration to come to him, and that inspiration will be mathematically equivalent to your level of attention and love that you have placed into the effort itself. We have to abandon ourselves to the pressure, to run to the exact spot whither it impels us, and not go one step further, even in the direction of what is good. Now, this is very interesting because here she's telling us that we have to experience the diminishment of our ego, so that we follow this inspiration to exactly the point that we are inspired to go, and we of our own accord do not take even one step beyond that, even if it seems to us to be in the direction of good. So it's suggesting this level of surrender to this inspiration, to take it only to the extent that we are brought, that we are carried, not to allow it to become an ego-motivated movement. At the same time, we must go on thinking about God with ever-increasing love and attentiveness, in this way gaining the favor of being impelled ever further and becoming the object of a pressure that possesses itself of an ever-growing proportion of the whole soul. Now, this pressure she's talking about is that inspiration. When the pressure has taken possession of the whole soul, we see that in some of the saints that we've talked about. Rabia in her love for God, and Sita in her love for Rama, and Radha in her love for Krishna, and Jesus in his absolute surrender for God in the Garden of Gethsemane. So this whole notion of coming to the place where the whole soul is given in love and attentiveness to God, and that is the maximal inspiration that becomes available inside from the divine, to the point that this is that pain, this is that suffering, that wound of the soul that is so often referenced when we feel the pain of our separation from God, that the pain that we feel when we lose a friend to death, that separation from that friend is almost unbearable. We long for them, we miss them. The sorrow of that loss is overwhelming. And she's suggesting that when we come to this point in our relationship with the beloved, when we've thrown ourselves out with our whole soul, with a whole attentiveness and a whole love, that the pain of that separation will be on par and even greater than that suffered through the loss of a friend. When the pressure has taken possession of the whole soul, we have attained the state of perfection. But whatever stage we may have reached, we must do nothing more than we are irresistibly impelled to do, not even in the way of goodness. So she again is emphasizing by repeating that whole idea that we do only to the limit of inspiration. We don't take the wheel to drive the car on our own at any point. It is our responsibility to supply the attentiveness and the love toward God. And then we simply surrender and obey the inner inspiration that is given to us in return.